All right, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're tuning in the world. It's been um, it's been about 10 days since the last time I posted. Thought I'd catch up with the charts, see how some of these crypto trades are working out. As of right now, I remember telling everyone I am not interested in longs because the higher time frames are still pushing down, so upside um, profitability was extremely limited. So let's check out where we left off, starting with Bitcoin. Last week, from a top-down level, we still said on the 2048 chart where each candle is 2048 minutes, we were still headed down to a minimum of around September 20th. We're still about 3 weeks, 2 weeks away from that actually, and looks like everything still is in play right now. We had some spikes up given the big news. We just finished the first NFP of the third quarter starting in September. This was just last Friday. Markets were extremely hairy. Even the Nasdaq took out its weekly high and then dropped down. Hasn't made a lower low on higher time frames, but it did take that manipulation high and move down. But right now we're talking about crypto. And from what we see here is we were originally saying around 43 candles to 300% we would get a low before a bounce. We did do that. However, we see here even on the time frame below the 512, we made the same low here and then came back down one more time, puncture that low before going up and coming out, looking to take out the high of turning point 7. It ended up being a double top, slightly higher high. Did it make a higher high? Let's see. 3842. Wow, about $50 away. However, what it did do was go from 8 to 9 on this transition, hit our time turning point exactly, and this is just 16 plus 33 candles. So I believe turning point 9 is in. Lower time frames are already starting to post slightly lower lows here. Lower highs, headed into lower lows. 9 is in my opinion, on the 128 chart. Now, when I see this, I know that turning point 2 had to come in on the 2 minute, on the 512. And now I feel like as long as the 128 continues down, which looks like the lower time frames below the 128 are looking to do so, that means the 512 will also make slightly lower lows. This is all in line with a continuation on the time frame above on the 2048, headed to this target. This target again is in about 13 days. 13 days at about 104,000, give or take about $300. That would be about, oh, look how that lines up. 42 candles here. So I would expect something to really just accumulate and start making its way down here while holding this high of 114. Yeah, just under 114, 113,363 based on the data on my chart, and should look something like this over the next 2 weeks. We also see in Ethereum, because we were speaking about Ethereum and the strength of the altcoin market, we made that high, came back up, and just never was able to make a new all-time high after that. So yes, it was a new all-time high of a difference of uh, less than $200. Congratulations to all the ETH holders. It's been a long time coming, but we did it. Here, depending on how we scale our chart, we are looking at about a third or a second arc reversal. Even here, we still have a couple targets, one in 12 days, which lines up with what we see in Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin ship is turning around, we would assume the rest of the altcoin market, including Ethereum, if we could still even call Ethereum an altcoin, is also going to do the same. There is another there is another target in about a month after that on the 14th, but we're going to have to just watch out, see how the lower time frames below, let's say the 2048, like the 512 and the 128, really play out to tell that story. If we will see more continuation down or just a later start. Maybe those in the altcoin market just want to make sure Bitcoin is moving back up before people repack their bags for what people may want to, call altcoin season. But as of right now, moving into the what, last quarter of the year, we we're still we're still moving down, at least in the month of September. Again, as we touched on before, we talk about seasonality, we talk about they're all part of cycles, and what we see here is a higher time frame turning point from the high to a low. It was always going to happen here. It's just to what degree it's going to happen. But yeah, even here we see a lot of confluence for this September 18th time. Let's see. Another market I also have loaded up to see if we can get some more supporting data for this would be the total crypto market cap. Now, we have our first target for the daily chart, putting in a transition from 5 to 6, 6 being a low turning point. I don't think it's making a lower low just yet, but it will at least come down. Uh, to hit this first time, this time target would be this Sunday open starting tomorrow. Things will really have to take a tumble here, which we know does happen to the upside or downside when there is a time target approaching and it hasn't made its way there. The market just seems to move aggressively displacing towards that. We don't know what the reason is. I do not care what the reason is. It could be a tweet, it could be a BOMB, it could be whatever it is. Um, Again, I'm just interested in the technical analysis of what the charts are saying, not what the news is saying. However, more interestingly is the second target, which will put us more squarely into where I feel comfortable of a turning point 6 to come in, has more confluence of time and a cube root, which is another time measure. And the time target for that on this daily chart is Friday, September 19th. Give or take a couple candles between the 18th, 19th, or even the 26th. Looks like the total crypto market cap could find its temporary bottom here. And remember, the lower time frames feed the higher time frames, so the higher time frames make demands of what the lower time frames need to do. So if the lower time frames are feeding the higher time frames, we can see that the time frame below the daily, which would be this 512, we were in between. If we're going up from here for a higher 3, it did not happen. Instead, the move down is actually playing out. We're looking at these orange targets. We can get rid of that one. Is still playing out. I see a September 12th target, which will match what we saw on Ethereum, as well as, again, this, let me drop this one here, an additional one here, which would be about, it's a 250% time, right off this 45-degree angle. Right now, we're still above it, but we are facing some serious resistance here along this fan line. If this fan line holds as resistance, then we are looking at a continued downside. Bitcoin and Ethereum charts are saying there will be more downside, so I assume the rest of the crypto market cap will also follow suit. If that plays out, we have another point of confluence for around the September 20th, September 18th time. Weekly and monthly charts still look up, still look very bullish, but yes, the higher time frame here will be the daily that I'm looking at in the short term, still going down. Now, one thing I do like to do is mix in and see what the USDT dominance is doing, right? Because if people are retreating to dollars, if people are retreating to Tether and stable coins, they're taking profits, they're taking their money out the market instead of leaving it in something like crypto. When I say crypto, we all know that a stable coin is also technically crypto, but they are moving their money off the asset into something stable until they can see how things are playing out. Last time I was saying the earliest target here would be 11 candles, which we did get a bounce exactly at that point. If this is really turning point 10, then that means we are about to make a higher high. If Yeah, we actually already did make a higher high. Lower time frames be the higher time frames. This would say that we may have also got a double bottom bounce on the weekly headed up. However, I think really it could really just go lower high and continue down. I still have another target to the downside around October 20th. So we'll have to see exactly how this is going to play out on the time frame below the weekly, which is the daily, and see if this really was a two. If this was turning point two, that means we could get a real nice bounce up above turning point one, and this would, to me, be another reason just not to enter anything but shorts for Bitcoin or Ethereum at this time, or your favorite altcoin. But we're going to see. The one thing I do want to talk about is the idea that this may not have actually been a turning point 10. If this is a turning point 10, turning point 1 will have to wait all the way until about November. That means we are entering another lull in the crypto world, which means some of our monthly and weekly targets to the upside for Bitcoin may actually get pushed out to about February or April. Those are the absolute last targets I had for the monthly chart, which would be about in the year 2026 April. However, one thing that I do want to say is there is a possibility that this was not 8, 9, and 10 here, but instead was something like an 8 playing out here, as we did also hit the time target here. So again, we're going to have to see how long we stay up before going back down below 3.97% on the USDT dominance chart. But what I can say in the short while that if this is still 8 or if this is 10, we are going up for the foreseeable future because this is a lovely turning point in the sweet spot for where turning point 8 likes to form. And I just want to show you guys what that would look like if this was really 8. It would look something like this. 8 coming in and would move up. And I cannot make this up. The energy's there, the vibration is there. This is what my technical analysis is showing me. Time and price are both equal. And the time is telling me if that's 8, that we are going to go up at least till about September 15th to, again, that is my first target. But my second target would be Friday, September 19th. Again, September 19th to the upside for USDT dominance would actually have an equal effect on the rest of the crypto market cap, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and your favorite altcoin, all continuing down for the next 13 days. Again, those targets are again September 18th to the 19th. All right. If you do have any questions, please leave a comment down there. I would love to really engage with anyone who, one, is curious about this type of technical analysis, wants to learn more about it, or just wants to have a general conversation. You know, I can start leaving my Telegram or Discord information in there because my whole life is trading. I would really love to engage with more people and talk about this because this is some of the most exciting stuff ever. Being able to make money from the markets and find out when and where markets are turning is really, it's more than just, a way to make money. it is a way to also make friends, build community, and again, you know, have some good laughs and make some money while you do it. Perhaps that's where they get the term laughing all the way to the bank. But again, if you have any questions, hit me up. Leave a like, subscribe if you want, so you can continue to follow these updates. I do promise I will start updating these more often. Let me know what works best for you guys. Do you guys think having an update more than one time a week would be good? Maybe some lower time frames, seeing turning points happen every other day. Maybe a daily, maybe a daily update will also work. Just let me know and I'll try to fit in my schedule. Until then, hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys are being safe. And the best advice I ever got from my dad was, if what you're doing in life isn't making you happy, stop doing it and go out there and find your happiness. All right. Thanks, everyone. Talk to you all soon.